So I am the production designer, so my role starts very early. I start with the director, and I'm responsible for finding locations, designing the sets, gathering the props, action props, and the overall visual content of the piece really is something that I start very early, and then cameras come on board, and then they take over with their section of the role as well. So I'll find locations, design sets. So yeah, quite a varied role. I have a sort of left hand and a right hand. I have construction side, and I have a supervising art director who is in charge of the construction of sets, any work to be done on location, and I have a prop buyer and a set decorator who gather the props, small hand props, furniture, everything really. I went to art school in Glasgow, and I think it was very useful. I think being able to draw is hugely useful. I think basic construction drawing is good. A spatial sense, eye for colour, a good knowledge of period, a driving licence, hugely important. The thing I like about my career is the variety. I can do contemporary work, and I do period work as well, and doing period jobs is lovely because you immediately create something that transports people back in time, and it's much more straightforward to do that in a way, because you feel it with period furniture, period paintings, the colours, etc. I think contemporary work is more difficult, but the great thing is the variety. No, not really. It's actually harder. It can be much harder to make somebody's sitting room interesting and stimulating, but then you have the character in the piece that you have to develop, and the items that you put into that room should reflect the character and add to the overall picture of this person or what happens in that room. So that's interesting, but again, period sets are more interesting and easier because everything's old and lovely, really. It was really, I've worked with the director quite a few times, Peter Kosminski, and he asked me to do it, and it was a very difficult project because it is very harrowing, and the subject matter was very contentious. The research was really difficult. We filmed in Spain, not secretly, but certainly trying to stay under the radar, just due to the nature of the production. So I think it was, I knew Peter would treat it seriously, and it needed to be taken seriously, and his research is meticulous. So I had access to all of that. It was a very sensitive subject. So we, as I said before, we worked slightly under the radar. We couldn't go to Syria. It was set in Syria, about 4 young people who travel out from the UK to join ISIS. And we went to Almeria to film in the south of Spain, quite quietly, but still doing very large setups, like executions and mutilations and prisons, and so really hideous things, actually, that we had to do in a very careful and contained and sensitive way. And we had a group of young people running about with AK-47s. And that, you know, it's shocking when you see that. So it had to be carefully handled and monitored. And I think we all had to be aware of what we were doing and not encourage any bad behaviour or stupidity. So from that point of view, it was very difficult. And then creating Syria in Spain was tricky as well, because obviously it's completely different. It was sunny, and that was about it, really. Then we went to Cardiff and finished off. So we went to a studio in Cardiff and also filmed in some big white villas just outside Cardiff, which became some of our Syrian houses. So it was sort of multi-layered, the places we were working in as well. And you always had to remember, I'm not in Spain, we're in Syria. Keep remembering you're in Syria. A lot of the work came from Peter's research, actually. And there are a lot of films online a lot of propaganda films, and we did watch a lot of that material, which it was awful. It was hideous, but you had to do it. And he, as a director, he wants details to be absolutely correct. So we had to be careful with that and get things as correct as we could. I think The State was one of the most harrowing projects I've ever done because of the subject matter. There really was no light relief in it, and we had to be careful, and you don't joke about these things. So it was, I think we were all aware of the enormity of the project and the seriousness of it. So, and other projects, they can be fun, lighter, easier probably. You create a room for somebody and you hope you have interpreted their personality, the character's personality correctly. I'll come onto set with the director and the actors at the beginning, and if they say, I wouldn't have this, I would have this instead. So it does happen, and you have to respect that and substitute something or say, you know, can I get you something that's more suitable? What do you feel you would have? And often we ask what sort of key action props. We'll run those past the actors as well, if they're very important for character.